up, everyone? Welcome back to the ReSee Movies What to Watch podcast where we help you figure out what to watch so you don't have to waste your time digging through your streaming queues. My guest today is Bryan Lee, a content creator and comedian living here in Berlin, a personal friend of mine. You might recognize him from some videos shouting us out on social media. He's been very supportive of ReSee since day one, so it's an honor to have you on the podcast, Bryan. Welcome.
Thank you, Ty. Pleasure to be here. Excited to talk about movies, one of my favorite topics.
Of course, yeah. So on that note, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your current projects and maybe even your movie taste.
Sure. So I am a comedian. I perform stand-up, but primarily I do sketch comedy on social media. On the ReSee account, I did these POV on a date with a cinephile sketches. And my comedy has a lot to do with toxic masculinity and relationships and life in Berlin and sort of lampooning men who take themselves too seriously. And as an avid movie lover my whole life, I'm familiar with the enthusiast culture in movies, much like in music or in fashion or anything like that, where people can sometimes have their taste be too much of a pillar of their identity, let's say. Okay. So these are the kinds of subjects that I write about in my comedy. My relationship with movies is pretty straightforward. I inherited a lot of movies from my dad, and I watched like a lot of. I was born in Seoul, I grew up in Hong Kong as well as a kid, so we watched a lot of those like classic, golden age of Hong Kong cinema type of movies together. A bunch of movies that I probably shouldn't have watched as a child. And when I was a teenager, I wanted to go to film school. And I was the kid who would get the Sunday paper, take out the TV guide, and circle all the movies that I wanted to watch that week. And so I would like wake up at 6 a.m. to watch some old like Hitchcock movie on Turner Classic Movies.
And how old are you here?
Like 16, 17. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't go to film school, but I've been movie lover this whole time. And in a way, like my experience creating content and like writing, acting, and like sort of directing and editing these 1 minute long sketches has been sort of like reconnecting with my teenage self and feeling like I'm part of that filmmaking process.
That's awesome. And so how would you describe your taste in films? I mean, it sounds pretty broad. You're going from the golden age of Hong Kong cinema to Alfred Hitchcock to, nostalgia. So how would you describe it?
I would say I love movies from the 90s more than anything. But
that was your decade.
The 90s. Yeah. But I would say my appreciation is pretty broad. I'm not a huge lover or hater, except for a couple. Well, it depends.
We all have strong opinions about a couple movies here. But you're not a hater in general. So.
Yeah. No, I don't think that. I try not to. And I like what I like, and I think I have very well defined taste in the things that I think are good. But I respect the craft, and it's hard to make anything good. It's hard to make anything creative. It's hard to make creative work, and so I just love movies.
Facts. As a content creator yourself and a stand-up comedian who gets in front of people and have them judge you kind of ferociously from the comfort of the audience, you have a newfound respect for anyone who tries to make anything creative. So
that's exactly it.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
And so what is it about the 90s? What defines 90s movies for you? Like, what is it about that decade of movies that just hits?
It's the same with music and fashion. Like, really had a couple of things figured out aesthetically. And there is an optimism with a very low but real ceiling in 90s movies. And there is that sounds really abstract, but there is a sense of technology-driven enthusiasm, and this was an era of neoliberal politics and globalization and
Dot-com
having
boom.
all the different influences from across the world penetrate parts of society that hadn't been exposed to those things before. And yeah, people were pretty starry-eyed in the 90s. And I think a lot of great art was coming out that was probably not possible before. And I don't know. I haven't thought about this question in detail before, but maybe you get what I mean. The entirety of the 90s, including like the late 80s bleeding into the early 90s, culminating in like 99. 99 is known as one of the great movie years of all time. And yeah, I think there's a reason for that. People right before the turn of the millennium had a lot of ideas. There was a lot of conversation happening that stimulated this kind of great creative work.
Nice. I'm terrible with chronology. What are some of the movies that came out in 99 that are part of this epic year?
The Matrix came out in 1999.
I'm already sold, say no more, but what else?
I think 1999 was The Matrix, Fight Club, American Beauty, and maybe a couple of more. But I can name, sort of like a canon of 90s movies that I think are, some of the best, like In the Mood for Love and Jurassic Park and Good Will Hunting, The Talented Mr. Ripley. I'm just naming Matt Damon movies now.
So it was the decade of Matt Damon, and that's why the 90s is so special.
Yeah. And this is like, I think also from an industry point of view, this is maybe an era in which auteur cinema was much more of a priority, because you had like guys break through that were not just like Spielberg, and there were a lot of film directors who came from smaller budgets, or like directing music videos, or like directing like skate videos and stuff like that, who became huge film directors.
Yeah. Probably related to Sundance and all these other film festivals that were giving people a platform. The platform was growing.
Is someone super educated on the actual like culture and social reasons why this happened to cinema in the 90s? I'd love to know more about it. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I'm blanking on the rest of the big hits, but I'd have to look at my list.
Well, all right, fair enough. So the next time you're on this podcast, maybe we do 90s movies as
that sounds great
of the podcast.
Yeah, I'd be down for that for sure.
But this time we're doing something a little different. Yeah. The theme for our recommendations today is doomed romances. Mm-hmm. And why did these two cishet guys choose to do doomed romances, you might ask? Well, we both kind of are dabbling in this subject matter on a regular basis. As Bryan, as you mentioned, his comedy, his sketches kind of tend to parody or lampoon the sort of toxicity that comes from a lot of men, single men, a lot of bro culture, and how that's surprising that people still act that way because it's not what women want. So you're kind of in the space already, and
the patriarchy hurts us all.
It hurts us all, indeed. Yeah. And for me, I am hosting, as you all know, the monthly community film series Dystopian Dating, where we watch movies that examine the challenges of modern dating, romance, love, etc. We pair them with social activities to take a little bit of the pressure off, give people an opportunity to reflect, blow off steam, and maybe even meet someone new. And so, doomed romances are right down the fairway, and as are toxic men. So what we've decided is we're going to go with doomed romances as the topic for today. And would you like to go first with your first recommendation, or would you like me to go first with mine?
Sure, I'm happy to go first. I gave this some thought, and I'm going with the movie I thought of the first. I thought of this movie right away, and I think it would make sense. My first pick is BROKEBACK MOUNTAIN, which is also one of my just favorite films of all time. It's in my Letterboxd top 4.
Ooh.
And
wait, can you tell us the rest of the Letterboxd top 4? Do you remember it right now? I know you switch it up a lot.
I'm pretty sure it's BROKEBACK MOUNTAIN, Before Sunrise, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Parasite. But that hasn't been revisited in a long time. Whatever. I have my reasons. I think those are
a damn
pretty
good list.
Yeah, I think those are pretty like untouchable for. But I think maybe in a way, some of those choices are too safe.
Okay.
But you know,
all right.
Everyone's top fours are fun.
Brokeback Mountain is definitely a no doubter though. So give us the case for Brokeback Mountain.
If you're not familiar, Brokeback Mountain is about two men who meet because they've been assigned the same job, and both of them are closeted, and there is this, decade plus long relationship between them that they cannot express outwardly. And so they are very much in love, but they are trapped in a situation where they cannot express it. And if that isn't like the definition of doomed romance, I don't know what is. And so what I love about the movie is, even if you don't hear a single line of dialogue, it is beautifully shot, like every frame a painting kind of movie. And all the performances are excellent if you do actually listen to it with dialogue. Even the music is really good. And they approached an extremely difficult subject. And this movie came out in the mid-2000s, or like the late 2000s, before the way that LGBTQ culture exists now. We take for granted that shift was fairly rapid, right? Like 15 years ago, our relationship with the LGBTQ community is not the same as it is now. And so for them to have approached this subject with incredible care and tenderness was very impressive. And everybody brought their fucking A game to this movie. Like Ang Lee as the director, Heath Ledger obviously gave one of the most extraordinary performances. Jake Gyllenhaal still, I think, one of the great working actors. And Anne Hathaway and Michelle Williams as the supporting cast. Every single one was at their best. And I don't know, like some of the just like longing stares and moments where they say nothing are the ones that stick with you the longest. And that was a movie that I didn't watch for a really long time. I watched for the first time in the past 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of those things where I watched, and when it was over, I just sat in silence for a while. It could have mishandled the story so many times, and it didn't once. And the stakes are extremely high the whole time as well, even though it's just a story between two people. And people, I think, an unfortunate byproduct of how it's been clipped, and how some of the one-liners have been sort of taken from the film do it a great injustice. And I recommend people to watch it, even if the American West and a romance between two men, or domestic drama or whatever. None of these, it doesn't matter. It's just such a great work.
So I also love this movie. Funnily enough, I also didn't see it until later, but it makes sense. We were only teenagers when it came out the first time, so we were probably not mature enough for that movie at that point anyway. No. But it definitely does hold up, and I definitely agree that even if you are not a member of the LGBTQ community, there is a lot in this film for you. And we talk about it often at Dystopian Dating, but you don't have to be single, you don't have to be gay, you don't have to be in the first person perspective of the main character in order to really take something away from a movie about romance and love and heartbreak and all of that. So great first recommendation. Hard act to follow, but I will try my best. So I'm going to go a little bit like for like here in a way, and then I'm also going to start with a film that centers around an LGBT romance, and there's probably a reason why a lot of those fall into the doomed category, historically speaking, but I'm going to go with Portrait of a Lady on Fire as my first doomed romance to recommend to you all. Directed by Céline Sciamma, French director, and just, again, kind of similar to what you mentioned with Brokeback Mountain, just extremely powerful. these heart-wrenching performances of these people who are in love, but society will never let them be together.
Right.
And I actually don't remember a single line of dialogue from the film. Partially because it's in French and I don't speak French. But I mean, even like, I don't remember the subtitles of this film. All I remember are these images of these people who are clearly in love, being in love, and just being like, wow, you can sort of feel how in love they are, even though there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
so it's a extremely poetic movie and just beautiful, like you said. And the sound engineering is just one of those movies that just like stunned me. You know, you gotta listen to it. You gotta watch it when you have good audio. You have to watch every movie with good audio. If you're watching a movie on your laptop speakers or something, like, shame on you. But this is a movie where the better the audio quality you can listen to it with, the more you're going to get out of this movie, because it really will kind of stop you in your tracks. And I absolutely love it, and we'll hopefully be showing it at Dystopian Dating sometime soon, along with Brokeback Mountain. All right, give us your second.
And this was the second movie that I thought of as soon as I thought through the subject. And there were a couple of movies in this specific genre of just like the sort of breakup movie. And the breakup movie is handled in many different ways. I found this to be extraordinarily realistic and uncompromising. Just say the name of the fucking movie.
Set it up, tee it up for us.
My second pick is Marriage Story by Noah Baumbach. And I think this is true. He was either like fairly autobiographical or was motivated or inspired by his own divorce. Marriage Story is about a couple that has been married and they have a young child and they get divorced. And it is primarily about the story of their divorce and how fucked it is for everybody. And they just shouldn't be together. They couldn't make it work. They shouldn't be there. And like, I'm purposely, even with the description of Brokeback Mountain, like giving very little away in terms of the plot in case people haven't, people want to see them without having anything be given away. But there are some moments of dialogue, especially when they're fighting, that I thought, wow, I've never seen that actually be shown. A comparable film is Kramer versus Kramer. It's Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep. It's a movie from the 70s. It's very similar. They're also getting divorced and they have a young son. Or like Revolutionary Road. That was also a movie where they yell at each other a lot, and I thought, wow, quite realistic. But Marriage Story is the movie that I think, again, did not hold back because it's a movie at all.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot of times, like, people throw out sort of accolades like realistic dialogue, but then you watch and you're like, I mean, this is Hollywood dialogue. Like, every line is a banger, and you know, it's like people don't really talk like this, and so when a movie actually kind of hits you, it's like, oh yeah, like I've said a lot of these things when I'm fighting with a partner, or that wasn't very concise, it wasn't very polished, but it's exactly how someone would talk when they're feeling emotional and that kind of thing. So I mean, it definitely hits home for that reason. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was referring to. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right, so I'm not going to go like for like with you on the next one. I'm going to make a sharp left turn, and to be honest, this movie probably really isn't about the doomed romance, but it does feature a doomed romance, so I'm cheating is what I'm telling you. The next film that I'm going to recommend is Triangle of Sadness from Ruben Östlund. And of course, the premise of this film is a doomed romance. It's essentially a very attractive young model couple that is in a faux relationship for the sake of mutually advancing their careers. And, doomed, you know. But you get the sense that, you know, they don't exactly feel exactly the same way about each other as well. And then they get invited to go on a cruise as influencers in exchange for posting about this luxury cruise they go on. They go on the cruise, all hell breaks loose. lots of other things happen in this movie that are not really about their romance. But for those of you who know Ruben Östlund, you know that one of the things that he really likes to focus on, and with good reason, is sort of the male ego and how the male ego presents itself in all of in relationships, both romantic and non-romantic. But a lot of it focuses on how men act in relationships, how men act when their pride is hurt or their ego is being threatened. So I think that counts
for sure.
And it's a movie where the power dynamics get flipped on their head, and there's a lot of hilarious sort of one-liners in there. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's technically about a doomed romance, but it absolutely does feature one. So I'm recommending it.
I think that's a great pick. Even though there's a lot of things that happen in that movie that feel outlandish, that core relationship archetype I haven't seen shown before. Where people, and those relationships definitely exist. That scene at the dinner table, like that is a conversation that I thought was really well written, that people definitely have had. It threw me for a loop, like what happened afterwards, because I thought it was like very grounded.
Trust me, you will not be predicting the third act of Triangle of Sadness if you've never seen it. But yeah, no, the dinner table scene, this is not a spoiler, but it's just it's an interesting power dynamic, because in this relationship in the movie, it's the female model that is the more successful one, probably makes more money, and yet when the check comes, there's a discussion over who should pick up the check. And that was actually apparently a real experience from the director's life. So he was in a situation where he was an aspiring filmmaker, not making any money, and then his date expected him to pick up the check, and it turns into a huge argument. So we've all been there. So Triangle of Sadness, highly recommend.
For sure.
Add it to your watch list.
Okay, so here's my third pick.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think I picked quite obvious movies for 1 and 2. So I purposely, and I could have talked about Kramer versus Kramer more. I could have talked about Revolutionary Road more, or like Blue Valentine. I don't remember that movie well enough actually, so I don't think I could have. But
we'll have to re-see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. I wanted to talk about a little bit of a different kind of doomed romance or doomed relationship, and bear with me. My pick is The Social Network. I talked about David Fincher at the beginning of the thing, so I might as well talk about it now, because it is a movie about a doomed friendship in which he could have chosen to be a human being, and there's that line where everyone knows what the plot of The Social Network is, where Eduardo tells Mark, "I was your only friend," and there's the stunned silence afterwards, to build up the whole movie about a story that everyone is quite familiar with, especially people our age, because we're sort of contemporaries of the people in the movie. I thought, wow, I can't believe you guys did this about this story. The creation of Facebook, you made that about this exact, leading all of that story to this exact moment. I was your only friend. And we're talking about toxic masculinity a bit, this people who watch that movie, in a way they take a side. They're like, oh yeah, of course he was gonna fuck over his friend. He was gonna ruin it for everybody, and he had that one friend. He had this one opportunity to find himself as a young person, to become a more fully formed adult, and he just didn't do it. And that's also kind of a doomed relationship.
It's like a doomed bromance, kind of.
It's
a doomed bromance. So yes, doomed romances count as doomed romances.
I'm so bummed I didn't think of that myself. Thank you.
We have to give latitude on this show, so we can get you the best recommendations. So,
yes, I was babbling for a while, but that's very succinctly what it was. It was a doomed bromance.
Okay.
And I love that it turned out to be. I love when movies feel like they're supposed to be about, they're clearly depicting something, but they're about something else.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
and yeah, doing bromance.
Yeah, sometimes the movie can be 99% about something else, but there's that 1% that catches you and sticks with you, and it might even been a little bit of like there's never throwaway dialogue in a movie because every line is very important, and if not, it would get cut out. But it's not what the main movie's about, but it's the part that sticks with you the most. So for sure, The Social Network, doomed romance. Yeah. That's how we got where we are in society nowadays. All right. Okay, so Social Network, third recommendation. Yes. My last one, I'm also going to take some latitude with it because it's not exactly what you would think of as a romance. I'm going to recommend Ex Machina as my third doomed romance film. I can see that. So, again, I'm always trying to avoid spoilers, but the basic story of Ex Machina is a talented young programmer wins a contest to go to the home, the estate of the reclusive genius billionaire founder of the tech company that he works for. And when he gets there, he encounters the fact that the founder has been working on an AI project to create a robot, android, whatever, that can pass the Turing test and pass as human. And so the programmer then is entered into a test to see if it can help train this AI. And of course, in the process of training an AI, something that we've seen happen nowadays, and it is very scary and it is kind of doomed, it's like they can get you to like them and even get you to love them. So the doomed romance becomes like, as this guy is supposed to be testing this robot, he starts to fall in love with it. And I won't say any more about the plot, but it is certainly doomed. It is certainly doomed. And the reason that I picked it is not only because it is heavy on the doom aspect of the doomed romance, but it is obviously very, very relevant to this day. We recently watched Her at a dystopian dating event and Her is another movie that is about the relationship between a human and an AI and how AI can fill this need, this void for people who, especially people who have a hard time connecting, who might be socially awkward or isolated or having a hard time breaking through. AI presents a real but double-edged solution for those kinds of people. So this is all very, very top of mind at the moment. We've seen some very dark things happen as a result of AI already. And so I think it's a good time to revisit Ex Machina for a couple of reasons. One, because all of this AI shit is happening right now in real time. But B, if something feels too good to be true, it probably is, you know? And I think that's like, again, this is not what the movie's about, but it is one of those things that I take away from a movie like that. Just be like, you gotta trust your intuition when it comes to dating and a lot of things. And I think, you know, a lot of the doom of doomed romances comes from people trying to ignore their intuition when they knew better because they felt like they had to do something or they should do something or they wanted to be really optimistic about it. So to avoid the doom, listen to your intuition. And that's why I would pick Ex Machina as my third movie. All right, well, those were pretty solid recommendations, if I must say so myself. And Bryan, thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. But before we let you go, a couple questions for you. First and foremost, do you have any projects coming up, anything interesting that you're working on? What's going on that maybe our audience would like to know about?
Yeah, I have been making content and doing comedy full time. And you can find me on Instagram, on TikTok. It's my full name at Bryan Lee. And I appreciate all the support that I've ever gotten. It amazes me that people watch anything that I've made. And just stay tuned for the content that I'm making. I'm just trying to always evolve and write more ambitious projects. I would love to write and perform a full 30-minute stand-up special at some point this year. But mainly, I would love to connect with any other creators or any brands who want to do fun collaborations. I've recently entered a few collaborations that I'm excited to show, and we'll be launching a YouTube channel later this year as well.
So stay tuned. Look out for the YouTube channel. Follow on the socials at Bryan and Healy. Drop a like and a comment because it could be the difference between Bryan getting a job or not, getting a contract or not. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
play the Sarah McLachlan with the sad with the dog in the background and sad music. Support your content creators. It's hard out here. But thank you. And I'll definitely do that. Okay. One other question before we let you go.
Yeah.
Just because I like to end it on a high note.
Yeah.
What is your hottest hot take about movies? Give it to us.
Obscurity does not equal excellence. Like, if the filmmakers set out to make the best Fast and the Furious movie of all time, then kudos to them for making an incredible Fast and the Furious movie. I haven't watched a lot of them. I'm just saying that because it's such a huge franchise that I'm sure people complain about. But if they made a Fast and the Furious movie that checks off every box that thing is supposed to be.
If it's both Fast and Furious.
Yeah, if it's
accomplished what it's up.
We're like, I mentioned Jurassic Park earlier. Great movie, right? You don't have to love dinosaurs or whatever. Just like, wow, they really set out to make an incredible action adventure. And they did. And like, you gotta applaud that. And like, I don't know, Avengers Endgame. These motherfuckers built up to that for like 15 years. They spent hundreds of billions of dollars making all these movies. A lot of them were kind of bad. But that thing, the accomplishment of what they set out to do, I thought was very impressive. And mind you, like, they're not my favorite movies, right? But I just don't like the attitude of, because it's popular, because it's, not a gatekeeper's pick, it's not good. It is. They set out to make something incredible, and if they succeeded, then I applaud that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the take is people need to be less. Oh, this movie isn't Oscar baity enough, and more. What did the movie actually want to accomplish, and did it do that thing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Before we conclude, I remembered a couple of movies from the 90s. Specifically, 1999, Magnolia came out in 1999.
Boom.
And that's also, one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Which I feel like people be like, how does this motherfucker who was like a big fan of Magnolia standing up for Avengers Endgame? But that's where I stand.
He's diverse.
Yeah.
He has depth. All right. Well, you got Magnolia in there. Shout out to Paul Thomas Anderson. I know you would have not slept well at night if you had not mentioned that was one of the bangers from 1999. So
shout out PTA.
Glad we had to get that in there. And once again, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you.
This was so fun. Thank you again.
We should do this again sometime.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye, everyone.